All right, it's a February power ranking, so I guess let's get to it and talk about who played the best triple triad this month. So, what happened this month? We had the start of Clan League, which is obviously one of the major events of the year, and along with Nephilim, one of the biggest things so far to happen this year, and the biggest thing to begin this year is Clan League. The first half was completed in February. The second half will come in March. As I won't talk about the teams much in this video, I want to quickly say it looks like there are three front runners. Depending on how some of the very last matchups go, the order won't be changed, but the margins will be. But it looks like Twin Moons will be in first. How much ahead they are is up in the air. Avalanche will be in second, and Brotherhood of Seed will be in third. FFF, it looks like, will be in fourth, and T3 in fifth. Unless FFF has a fantastic second half, though, I think three clans are still in contention to win it, though, of course, there is, I'd much rather come second than third, or third than fourth. So, anyways, that's happening. It is impossible for an individual to win Clan League, right? If someone won all their games, that doesn't mean their team wins the event. However, I do want to give a lot of credit to Clan League and to results in it, and I'm going to give more credit to wins in key games. So if your game was one that clinched a win or a tie for your clan, rather than if, say, your clan won 3 or 4 of the 4 games, and your game you could have lost and the clan still might have won by a decent margin, I'm not going to give as much credit to that. I will also give more credit to some extent depending on the opponent, right? Obviously, there are stronger and weaker players, and depending on the rule set, who's stronger and weaker is going to vary. But I'm going to give more credit for wins in key games against opponents I think are stronger. This won't be a huge factor in the rankings, but it will matter a bit. We also had Golden Boots. I think we had 4 Golden Boots and 2 weekly opens this month. There is a weekly open currently going. I did not give credit for that, but Akiyama and Turds are facing in one of the semifinals, and I think Yevon is in the others. These players will all be here. I don't think the results would too much change their spots, but it might move someone a couple spots above where they are. But probably, honestly, those 3 are pretty clear where they are. In the GB side, there is a GB that is not yet finished, but both Delial and Yevon have finished all their games, and based on their scores, I would expect them to come first and second, though it could end up being first and third, or second and third, but I'm going to from now on treat it as if they have come first and second, and I may, because if you look at my leaderboards, there's a tab at the bottom that shows the rankings each month. I may go back and change it depending on how the final 4s of these work out. And lastly, the only player-run tournament active is Yevon's Champions League, which has reached the semifinals, the final 4, and I'm going to be giving credit to those players. So let's get into the list. Oh, actually, one more thing I wanted to talk about. So I didn't play very much this month, and I think it is really important for everyone who can to do some activity. And that's because Triple Triad Advance means a lot to all of us that are here. Like, a lot. And it's not that I think it's in danger of immediately disappearing again, but I really want it to be strong, right? And you want it to be okay that you can take a month off or take 2 months off, have time where, it's not part of your life and you can come back and it will still be there with the people you're excited to see. And so I think one thing that's really important to try to do, if you're someone who's not particularly active, maybe you log on for some casual games, but you don't do any of the events, is try to do one event a month, right? Try to do one golden boot or one weekly open, just to help make sure these things keep existing as interesting competitive events with a bunch of different people. I think that's really good. And so I didn't play much this month. Part of that, the reason for that is I went out really early in the weekly opens. And if I had gone further, I would have played more games. But making sure to play at least kind of 1-2 events, you can choose which ones you play, I think is just so good for the site. And probably no one who's watching this is particularly inactive. I would guess the people watching this are pretty active people. But I'd really, if you're not, it would be really nice of you to, do one event a month and just make sure you do that little bit of help to activity, right? Because the site's given us a lot. And it's not that you have to give back or anything, but it's that if you can make it healthier for everyone else, it's also going to be healthier for you when you are excited about it. And so, anyways, just wanted to make that plea. Let us get into the rankings. 10th, we have Sakaya. This is Sakaya's first time in the power rankings, but I thought she had a great month. She really focused on the GBs, and she put up 110 points in one of them, which put her only 4 points off winning the whole thing, and gave her a third place finish. And 110 has won GBs in the past. This was a very good score. And in the next GB, she also came third, though it was with a pretty middling finish, but it was a tough GB, and basically only 2 players did well. And she did fine. She did good. And that was enough for third place. But 2 third places in a row, one with a really strong third place score, I thought was a fantastic run and earned her 10th place. I want to say, I try not to do honorable mentions. DJ was really close to this spot, but it went to Sakaya. And yeah, congrats. This was really great results. She played the GBs, and she played really well in the GBs this month. So this is her debut. Moving on to 9th, we have Doom Train. So Doom Train wins GB 18, and he also wins it, tying DJ's record for most points in a GB, a 20-game GB, with 118 points, averaging a 5.9. It's still, no one has managed a 6.0. Kazdon came close, but ended up scoring 117 with a loss in his final game. DJ hit 118, and now Doom Train ties that record at 118. Will we eventually see an 119 or 120? Probably, but I still kind of think it's a ways off, because, you know, you score like 113, 114, you probably win, and that's a great record. It's just very hard to break this. Doom Train had an incredible GB, really impressive. Only 4 players won any events this month, and Doomy was one of them, so you could argue he should place higher. And this is his second time in the top 10. I think there's an argument I've placed him too low. He had one phenomenal event, but it was just the one event, and I didn't really know where to put him. So I ended up with 9th. But just such a good showing. What a incredible GB. In 8th place, we have Sir Smoke. And he's someone you could argue lots of different places, but as far as I know, well, I guess I wrote this and then corrected it. He played 2 games this month. Actually, he played more because he played some trade, but he played 2 games of any importance this month, like for events, right? He played 2 Clan League games. So they were in Clan League, so that's the event I think is the most important. They were critical games. His win against Crescent saved Avalanche a tie against Twin Moon, and his win against Metis grabbed the win for Avalanche over Brotherhood of Seed. So both his results guaranteed a better score without his result. They were all in matches between the big 3 teams. He won both his games. He has the best results of anyone so far in Clan League, and he did it in the most important matchups, and they happened to be the deciding games of both matchups. So I thought this was just the most important games that were played this month in a kind of longer term view. And he won all of them, and he played really well. As a quick aside, I thought against Crescent, he did a really fantastic job of making sure the game would be complicated. He knew going in he had to win, that if he tied or lost either way, we'd lose the matchup. And so he had to win, and his move order was he went in 1, Crescent took from 2, and he went in 6, setting up combos and making sure the game wouldn't simplify. Right? Just making sure Crescent would have a really difficult move for decision, and Crescent didn't end up finding a save, and Smokes went on to win. But really nice understanding of the situation. If he has to win, any other result doesn't matter, and playing such that he had a chance to get there. This is the first time he's been in the power rankings, so we have another debut here. He obviously has not been super active since the return, though he has been present. Here he managed to get here in just 2 games, playing that little. He hasn't gotten here in the past, but I think, of course, if he was active, we would expect Sir Smokes to be a fixture on these lists. In 6th and 7th, we have Piggyman and Tezuka. So they're both in the Final 4 of the Evans Champions League, and there are obviously 4 people in the Final 4. Of the other 2, one was kind of middling and the other was pretty bad, but basically neither won anything outside of this event, and so neither made the list. One of them may or may not have been me, but Piggyman and Tezuka were the two players who are still in Yevon's Champions League, playing great there, and had impressive results outside of it. And so I have them in 6th and 7th. There's some argument they could be a tad higher. I think Tezuka had a little bit of a tougher road in Champions League. Now, Piggyman won his group, so he didn't have to play a round of 16, a wildcard match, while Tezuka did not win his group, so he did. But I think if you look at the results within the group, they had similar quality performances there. Just Tezuka's group, a little more difficult. And then Tezuka beat Dalial and then Yevon, while Piggyman beat Akiyama. So, both have done fantastic here. I'd give a little nod to Tezuka, but it's really close. In Clan League, both had one more win than losses. Piggy won 1 and lost 0. Tezuka won 2 and lost 1. In general, I'd lean Piggyman there. I think in a clan format, you really don't want to be losing games, right? Winning is great, but you really don't want to be losing. But Tezuka's matchups, I think, are a little more important. He did lose a key game to Twin Moons, but he also had a match-saving win against FFF, while Piggy's win was in a matchup that AVL would have won regardless. So I think based on the importance of the matchups and also some of the strength of opposition, though Piggy had a tie versus Seto, so great job, Piggy. I think Tezuka has a little edge here too. So overall, I think Tezuka 6th, Piggyman 7th. And neither super active, but both very strong in the events they played. This is Tezuka's 3rd time making the top 10, and Piggy's 2nd, though Piggy has come number 1. He was the player of the month for November. In 5th place, we have Vialva, who narrowly missed last month's power rankings and said, shucks, I wish I had made it. I'll just make it next month. And so he did. And this is the first time he's made the power rankings, though he's come close a whole bunch of times. He made the semis of the 15th Weekly Open, and then he wins the 16th. I sometimes write CT, usually write CT, because it started off as chat tournaments, and once I use a term for it, I like to stick to that so that my records look consistent. So he wins that. He's one of the very few players to have won an event this month. And while Doom Train's GB is probably a more impressive feat, Vialva also has another semifinals and in Clan League against really tough opposition. He faced Dalial, he faced Turds. He ended up putting up more wins than losses. And there weren't that many players not from Twin Moons that did. Most of the Twin Moons players went +1, though, and didn't have the surrounding stuff to make this list, though I was close to putting a bunch of them on. But Vialva, really good results in Clan League, and a win in Chat Tournament 16 got him up to 5th place on this month's power rankings. And yeah, expect to see him make more power ranking lists in the future. In 3rd and 4th, I think we have Yevon versus Turds. And this is close. So Yevon top 4s every GB with 2 runner-ups. So 2 second places and I think 2 4ths. Turds gets 2 top 4s and 1 runner-up. So basically Yevon gets 2 seconds, 2 4ths, and Turds gets, I think, 1 second and 1 4th. So definitely an advantage to Yevon. Just really consistent high places, basically competing for first in every GB, while Turds had a couple good ones, had a couple bad ones. However, in chat tournaments, Yevon went out early, while Turds got 2 semis. So there we go, advantage Turds. However, Turds went out in the wild cards in the Yevon's Champions League, while Yevon made the quarterfinals, having really dominated his group more than anyone else did. And so that advantaged Yevon. And in Clan League, Yevon had a losing record, while Turds won the critical game for Twin Moon against Boss. That matchup is technically undecided, but based on that win, Twin Moons will either win or tie that matchup. It was the key, the biggest game of Twin Moon's first half of the season was probably that one, and Turds won it. So advantage Turds. Now, a few adjustments to these is the chat tournaments were really small. Most of them were 8 players, and ones that were more, Turds often had a bye. So the 2 semifinals were basically Turds going 1-1. And I don't want to give too much credit for that, so not that much of an advantage there. But also the Champions League group stuff where Yevon did so well was all last month. This month, what happened was they both played their first round in the knockouts, and they both lost that round. So I don't know how much edge to give Yevon there either. So I think both of those are close to negligible, right? Neither of them are impressive enough that I'm going to give big credit to one over the other. What is impressive is they both were very good GB players, with Yevon being better, while Yevon had a bad showing in the first half of Clan League, and Turds had a really excellent one. Overall, I leaned Turds when I wrote this. Now looking at it, I'm not sure. And they both have some decent performance outside of that. I think it's close. Now I kind of want to go Yevon, but I went with Turds, and I did it based on the fact that Turds, so far in Clan League, just based on the importance of games, I think Sir Smokes is your number one pick for MVP, but I think Turds is number 2. And Yevon, while he came really close in a lot of GBs, did not quite snag them. And so I went Turds 3rd, Yevon 4th. But this was a month where, you know, the whole crowd from 3rd to 10th were a bunch of people who had a couple good results, but not really. It wasn't a month where more than 1 or 2 players really dominated. So either of these players could have placed much lower as well. But this is Yevon's best showing yet, having come 4th. And both players have now made the list 4 times, which is tied for second most. There have been 5 monthly power rankings, and each of these players have made 4 of those 5 top 10s. In second place, we have Akiyama, who wins Chat Tournament 16, but does it in really impressive fashion, beating Midas, Was Up, Vialva, and Delial. He wins Chat Tournament 15, he semis Chat Tournament 16. He also was in a really tough group in Yevon's Champions League, beats Turds in the wildcard round, loses in the quarterfinals to Piggy Man. He also got a win and 2 ties in Clan League, so he was undefeated in Clan League and won a game for his clan. And overall, it looked to me like in a world where there are a lot of people who had a couple good events, and maybe you could say Yevon had more than that. Yevon had 4 good events. Maybe I should have had Yevon higher. You know what? Yeah, we'll adjust that. On the leaderboards, we'll move Yevon up to 3rd, Turds down to 4th. I still think Akiyama 2nd, because I think good chat tournaments showings, especially against that field, as well as having the really good Clan League result, not fantastic, but very good, I think is enough to put him 2nd. And this is his 3rd time coming exactly 2nd, so your suspicion here should definitely be whoever's making these lists is out to get him. And in first place, and this wasn't close this month, there was one player who's just miles ahead of everyone. We have Delial. So we've discussed his GB dominance before. He has crazy records in it, and yet this was the best GB month he's ever had. There were 4 GBs this month. He won 3 of them. He came 3rd in the other one. So he's top 4 in every GB, which would also be really impressive, but it's far more impressive that he won 3 of them. He was top 3 in all 4 of them. He's the first to ever win 3 in a row, presuming he does hold on to win GB21. So I guess technically the 3 out of 4 is still up in the air, but I suspect it will be the case. He also runner-up to both chat tournaments, which means in the 6 events that finished this month, he won half of them on his own, and the rest of the site won half of them. He was in 5 of the 6 finals, right? Like, of the top, the top 2 spots, there are 12 top 2 spots over 6 tournaments. He personally had 5 of them. He won half of them. He was top 3 in every single one, right? Deli was by far and away the most successful player this month. It is not close. I didn't consider anyone else for the top slot. Delial also becomes the first player to reach number 1 in the power rankings twice. No one else has held the slot more than once. And not only that, but he is the only player to have made every top 10. And he's not just done that. He's made every top 4. Deli's never been below 4th place on one of these rankings, and no one else has made every top 10. So he is our reigning champion of these power ranking lists, and based on this month, he certainly deserves it. So congrats to Deli. Congrats to everyone else who made the top 10. Excited to see what happens next month. We will get the second half of Clan League. We may get a smattering of other events. We'll see. We'll see if a fun tournament comes back. That seems possible. We'll see. There's a chance that we'll get signups for the next big single-player tournament. I don't know what our schedule is going to be. traditionally there were either 4 or 6 per year, but I don't know what kind of schedule we're thinking of given, the site is smaller now, right? So I would be really excited to see one start up soon, and I think it would be a good time to start one up. But maybe it will start up after Clan League finishes, which would also seem reasonable to me. So that's where the site's at right now, here in February. Again, congrats to Delial, and see you next month.